Halli Hallo, I'm Refashionista Sheri, and over the years, I have transformed so many boring, boxy, and just plain frumpy blazers. I can't even count them anymore, and this isn't even all of them. These are just the ones that I actually could find in my closet to show you, and clearly today's video is going to be all about transforming blazers because you don't gotta settle for boring. Let's see. Oh, what I got here. You can. Look at this. Just like glue some pom-poms on. I made this one way back in 2013. And it's still going strong. And yes, I have washed this on gentle in a laundry bag. So come on, that can stand the test of time. That's totally no sewing. This one here. This is just, add some trim. This one here, oh, this was horrible. And this one here is totally fine, but it had a hole in it, so I added that adorable little patch. This one here, more funkiness on the lapels there, and I switched the buttons. This one here, I added these funky little trim suspenders too. Oh my goodness, so many. This one here, oh, has bell sleeves. And my wonderful hoodie plus blazer upsize. That is wonderful. This one here, of course, started out as a frumpy 1980s dress, and now I transformed it into a wonderful suit. And of course, the fantastic Refashionista statement sleeve blazer, and all of these tutorials, well, most of them anyway, I'm going to share with you today, and the ones that are over on my blog I will link to, so you can actually go and make every single one of those for yourself. And if you love what I do, please hit that join button, because for just 99 cents a month, you can help all of the work that goes on behind the scenes and access my sustainable fashion workshop and so much more. Hit join. And you know what? I think it's time. Oh, I'm out of breath. Those blazers are heavy. I think it's time to dive into the tutorials.
It would be a crime to not stick around and see what Sheri's going to transform this awesome 80s blazer into. For this fantastic 80s updating project, you'll need your retro blazer, your seam ripper, and your sewing gear. So your first step is to oh so carefully remove those sleeves with your seam ripper. Now, take a look at that. Lining, exterior fabric, and a shoulder pad that is 1, 2, 3, 4 layers thick. Holy 80s! And then all you got to do is fold in the raw edges of those armholes and stitch them around. Now, you could be done, but if you notice, I used red thread to stitch up my armholes because I'm going to dye my funky vest red and then get embellishing. Now, unfortunately, my groovy vest didn't come out as brilliantly red as I had hoped, but it still came out a pretty reddish orange color. So I went ahead and raided my stash and grabbed this 1980s dress belt, which matched perfectly. It's got red and orange and yellow in it, so fabulous. And I stitched that all the way around the collar and lapels. Then I went ahead and bound the armholes and then replaced the boring button with this bit of vintage bling that I've had in my stash since Germany. And voila! Perfection! How totally awesome is my cool, oversized vest?
Hello? Yes, that's right. Today, Sheri's going to show you how easy it is to transform a boxy blazer into something that's fantastic to wear for the coming spring weather. Okay? Bye-bye.
For this fantastically fast, oh-so-retro project, all you need is a boxy vintage blazer, your seam ripper, iron-on patches, your sewing gear, and of course your trusty iron. So your first step is to simply remove those huge shoulder pads that give the jacket that terrible boxy shape. And to do that, all you got to do is grab your seam ripper and figure out on the inside where the shoulder pads are and carefully open up those shoulder seams. And you should then be able to
pop the shoulder pad out of the small hole you have made. That's huge! Then all you have to do is use your seam ripper again and carefully detach the shoulder pad from the interior lining of the blazer. Now that those massive shoulder pads are removed, I'm going to go ahead and grab my trusty needle and thread and hand stitch those little shoulder openings closed. How much nicer are those shoulders? So much softer and not at all boxy looking anymore. So now the next part is the funnest part, deciding where exactly you're going to put your groovy patches. Now I think I want mine going down the lapel here. Once you're happy with the placement of your patches, go ahead and grab a nice thin piece of scrap cotton fabric. Place it over top of the first patch if you have more than one. Let's move those out of the way so they don't get ironed. Grab your iron and press. Give it a check every so often and make sure it is actually getting stuck down, and then any little corners that aren't stuck, iron them again. Once you have one patch secured to the blazer, then go ahead and add your other ones using the same method. Arrange them. Once you have the next one there, remove the extras, cover with the cotton, and iron. Sometimes the heat adhesive that's on the back of the patches isn't the greatest quality, and if I notice that it's kind of coming up on the corners, I will go ahead and do a quick hand stitch around the outside of the patches just to keep them secure, and then I don't have to worry about them falling off when I'm out and about. How fantastic is this transformation? Totally easy. That took me less than an hour to do the entire thing, and it's awesomely cool, and I love my rainbow unicorn lapel.
Are you tired of wearing the same boring blazer every day? I know, grab some vintage trim and let's get embellishing. So for this super simple yet awesome blazer embellishment, all you need is your boring blazer, some fab coordinating embroidered trim, pins, and your sewing gear. I have been collecting these for quite a while, and I've gotten them at thrift stores, at garage sales, and I mean, even small pieces I save because you never ever know when they might come in handy. I mean, that's really not that big, but it would look really cool around a single cuff perhaps, or maybe added to the front of a pocket or something like that. But yeah, I mean, anytime you see any kind of these really pretty vintage embroidered borders and trims, absolutely pick them up and, you know, use them for embellishing your projects. So first you have to decide exactly where you want to embellish your blazer. I mean, you could put the trim all the way around the collar, and that would be quite cool. Or you can add it here around the cuffs. That would add some cool fanciness as well. Or if your blazer has pockets, you know, just add it here, just along the top of the pocket on each side. Now, I think I'm going to do something I've actually never done before and put this kind of like, it looks almost like suspenders. So I'm going to start here inside the pocket and then pin it all the way around on both sides here. So I kind of have it going, you know, up and around like suspenders. So let's give that a try. So as you can see, I have started just inside the pockets and then gone ahead and pinned all the way around to the very bottom and up and over and around the bottom hem at the back. So let's go stitch it on and yeah, see how it comes out. I mean, how fantastic does this blazer look now? It is definitely not boring anymore. Let's have a look at the back. It is definitely a suspender look, which is totally what I was going for.
And as always, this video is sponsored by you and the word of this video. Because when you take a second and comment the word of this video down below, it tells that pesky algorithm to feed my channel out to more people so we can get everyone using what they have to make what they want. And the word of this video is blazing.
So, if you have a boring boxy blazer at the back of your closet and you want to make it cool, Sheri's going to show you how to do that today. How to make it into kind of a, I don't know, bell sleeve situation. Not really sure what she's going to do, but let's take a look, eh?
For this fast and fancy project, all you need is a boring blazer and the leftover chopped bottom from a shortened dress. So your first step is to simply chop that dress bottom into 2 equalish pieces and then fold them in half with right sides facing and stitch up that raw edge on the side. And then once they are stitched together, simply flip them right side out and marvel at how gorgeous your soon-to-be bell blazer sleeves have turned out. Next, grab your blazer and lay the sleeves flat. Then snag one of your bell sleeves and line it up with the bottom hem of the sleeve. Chop on through. You may want to give yourself a little bit of seam allowance here, but I don't think it's entirely necessary with this one because the blazer sleeves were actually a bit too long for me. Now, because my blazer has a lining, I went ahead and hemmed that up first so it wasn't kind of fraying all over the place when I was working on the rest of the sleeve. And now I have popped the chopped sleeve into my bell sleeve fabric tube with the right sides facing and the underarm seams lined up. Now I'm just going to go ahead and gather all of this excess fabric up into some nice little pleats and then stitch it together. And then once it's all stitched together, flip it right side out and admire your beauteous bell sleeve, and then go repeat the whole process on the other blazer sleeve.
I mean, how awesome did this come out? I think I shall be transforming more blazers in the future with all of the leftover dress bottoms that I have lurking in my stash.
Oh no, that blazer is too tight under the arms, on the shoulders, and in the sleeves. What are you gonna do? I know, let's upsize it.
For this awesome upsizing project, all you need is that too small blazer, scissors, seam ripper, hand sewing gear, and your sewing machine. The easiest way I have found to upsize the armholes is to simply remove the shoulder pads, and then it basically gives you the same amount of space here that was previously up here. So your first step, of course, is to flip the blazer inside out, then grab your seam ripper and just open up a small hole in that interior shoulder seam. Once you have your little hole, go ahead and reach in and carefully pull out the shoulder pad. That's absolutely huge! Look at all the space that's taking. Then all we're going to do is remove it. When you have all that shoulder pad material removed, go ahead, tuck in the fabric, and stitch that little opening closed. So the blazer fits so much better now that those horrible, huge shoulder pads have been removed. But as I have been craving a split sleeve blazer for quite some time, I'm going to transform this one right now. So I'm thinking the first thing we're going to have to do is go ahead and open up these under sleeve seams here in the blazer in order to give it, the open sleeve look. Once you have that interior lining seam opened up, go ahead and open up the exterior fabric seam. Then all you have to do is tuck in the raw edges of the lining and the exterior seam and stitch them together. And then once those raw edges are all stitched together, go ahead, flip the blazer right side out and admire your gorgeous split sleeves. Yay!
For this fast and funky upsizing project, all you need is a too small blazer and a hoodie. So the first thing I'm going to do is simply chop off my blazer sleeves. And you can tell this blazer is just super quality here because the only part that's lined is the sleeves, which is actually good because it's making this refashion quite simple because I don't have to worry about getting rid of or dealing with a lining on the whole blazer. Once the sleeves are off, the lining will be gone. So the sleeves are off and they will of course be placed in my stash for a future project. Now, look at this. We just created a very kind of funky long vest. So if you just want to leave it as is, you can, and then you have a no-sew vest. But this one, we're going to upsize. We're going to add the hoodie. It's going to be super cool. So let's get moving on that. All right. So because I need to upsize this, we next are going to chop out these side seams here right underneath the armholes. Okay, so my blazer is all chopped up now. We got the blazer chopped, now it's time to cut up the hoodie. So for this, I'm just gonna chop off the sleeves and chop off the hood, and then we're gonna have all the parts we need to put it all back together. So because I was going to need some rectangles of fabric, I went ahead and chopped all of the seams off of the body of the hoodie as well. So I've grabbed my blazer once again and I have it laid flat with the chopped sides, you know, very visible here. And I also grabbed the smaller of my chopped rectangle pieces. And I don't think I need to add too much to my upsizing side inserts here. Maybe 4 or 5 centimeters will do it because I do want to be able to wear like a sweater underneath this, and I think, yeah, 4 or 5 centimeters on each side should be more than enough. So I'm just gonna put this along the edge of one of my chopped sides so I can get the length I need, and then chop out 2 pieces with my perfect length and width. Okay, so I have my pieces chopped. Now I'm going to put one on one side of my blazer with the right sides facing, and then go stitch that together, then flip it around, do the same thing on the chopped back side, and then repeat the whole process on the other side of the blazer with the other chopped insert piece. So the sides are done and upsized, and I have so much more space in here. It is fantastic. I can totally wear like a turtleneck under this. Now let's go. I just love that. Oh, sorry. Looks so cool. Let's go put on the sleeves on the hood. Okay, so I have my blazer inside out. I have one of my sleeves right side out. And as we know by now, when you put the right side out into the inside out and stitch it together, the right sides will be facing, which is what we want. Okay, so this kind of under seam here, under sleeve seam, under arm sleeve seam, yeah. I'm going to line it up in the center of my upsize insert, and then shake the sleeve down, make sure everything fits nicely, and then I'm just going to go stitch it all together. Now, both of these fabrics are quite stretchy, so I'm probably going to stretch a bit as I stitch to make sure they're all lined up together. If you have fabrics that don't have any stretch and you're finding maybe the sleeve is a bit too wide, I shall link down below to my DIY sleeve playlist where I show you all the different ways you can do like pin tucks and everything to make everything, you know, fit together nicely. So yeah, let's go stitch this together and then repeat on the other side. Okay, the sleeves are on, the sides are upsized. Now it's time to reattach the hood, and I think this is just going to be pretty easy here. I'm just going to line up. Look at this. You can see where the tag was here and the tag on the blazer. So I'm going to use that as a guide for my kind of center seam area. And, whoops, of course, flip up the collar because we want the hood to be inside the collar. And, right. And then I'm just going to go and carefully stitch the hood on. Okay, so I just want to show you how I pinned my hoodie onto my blazer, just in case you run into the same problem that I did. So my hoodie was a little bit too long to go from side notch to side notch here on the collar. So what I did is I first pinned each side to the side notch area, and then I simply added a pin tuck here and a pin tuck here and kept the back of the hoodie totally straight. So now I can go stitch it on. Okay, the hood is on and it actually worked and it looks totally awesome. And I also then went a step further because I am me, and I did my favorite thing to the sleeves and I added some very cool bells with the bits of fabric I had left over. So now let's go try it on and style it up.
You guys, what a triumph. Again, here I am, totally at a loss for words because this came out once again. I know I say this all the time, but it really did come out so much better than I thought it would in my head, especially because of the cool bell sleeves and because I attached them to the original cuffs. They're like cinched in here, so it makes them super belly. And of course, it's lovely and upsized, and the hood, the hood is magnificent. And I can even still use the drawstrings on the hood, so wow.
You'll need your too tight blazer and your gorgeous thrifted evening gown, or I mean any kind of floofy ruffle fabric. Skirts would work as well if they have cool fabric. I mean, just about anything. So yeah, it doesn't have to be this. It can be anything you want it to be, as long as there's enough fabric to create some upsizing panels and your sleeves. Okay, so the very first thing you want to do is flip your blazer inside out. And this one has a lining, which, okay, means it's good quality, but it also means everything is going to take me twice as long because I'm going to have to do the lining as well as the exterior fabric, but that's okay. It'll be worth it. It'll be worth it in the end, I promise. I hope anyway. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is remove the sleeves with their lining, and I'm going to use my seam ripper simply because I don't want to risk just chopping through any kind of seam that I might need when I'm putting everything back together. Okay, so both of the sleeves have now been removed, and there are shoulder pads in this blazer, but they're not really big. They're not super thick. And so I think I'm actually going to leave them in because they give a nice shape and structure to the shoulders. And I think that's going to be necessary once those big ruffly sleeves are put onto the blazer. Okay, so because this blazer is too tight on me across the chest area, I am going to add some side panels with the dress fabric. So I now need to open up my side seams. Okay, so now I have the sides completely open on both sides of my blazer, and as you can see, it's kind of looking like a mess right now. So what I'm going to do is fold in all of these raw edges and then simply go, whoops, stitch everything together. So then I don't have to worry about all of these yucky bits of thread and everything. It'll all be neatly tucked in and stitched together, and then I can get started working on my side panels. Okay, here's a little Refashionista tip for you. Now, you know, sometimes when you get a suit, especially if it's a higher quality suit, the pockets are sewn shut. Well, sometimes it's not a pocket at all, and it's just a faux pocket. And with this blazer, I mean, I got it at the thrift store, and I saw here, okay, this is like super sewn shut, like really with a really tight stitch. So I thought, okay, these pockets are just decorative, they're faux pockets, but now that the side seams are open, look, it's not a faux pocket. So I have two pockets on both sides, plus up here, a bodice chest pocket as well that I need to open. And something that a lot of people don't know is the reason that the pockets are stitched together is so the suit will retain its shape during the final stages of manufacturing, when it's getting pressed and everything, as well as when it's hanging up in the stores ready to be bought. It is simply a way that the manufacturers make sure that it doesn't get stretched out. I always like to think, though, it's because they don't want, when people try it on, that they put stuff in the pockets like their old gum or something. But apparently it's nothing to do with that. It's all about keeping the shape of the suit nice. So before I stitch anything, I'm just going to go ahead and carefully open up my pockets so when it's all done, I can actually use them. Okay, so I have all the sides stitched on my blazer. Now it's time to start working on this dress. And the first thing I'm going to do is chop out the crinoline that it has. And I'm just going to make this into like a skirt that I can then wear under dresses and skirts when I want them to be a little bit more puffy at the bottom. So that's kind of cool. That's a good reuse here. So I'm going to chop out the crinoline, and then I'm going to chop off all of the unnecessary pieces. So I'm just going to be left with the fabric that I'm going to use. Okay, so I have my 2 upsizing inserts completed, and to create these, all I did was chop out a length of the satin fabric that was still remaining here on the bodice, and then I grabbed some pink fabric from my stash because, like you can see, this fabric here is super fraying, so I did go ahead and create 2 tubes using the fabric from my stash plus the satin fabric from the bodice. Okay, now it's time to use these to upsize the sides of my blazer. And it's so super simple. I've done this so many times, putting in fabric panels, so you guys know it's an easy thing to do. So I'm taking the finished edge here of my fabric tube and simply lining it up with the finished edge or hem here of the blazer and putting the right sides facing. So I have my interior fabric facing up and the nice satin fabric facing the right side of the blazer. And now I'm just going to go stitch that together all the way up to the underarm seam, where the underarm seam starts. Remember, because I still got to put my sleeves in there, so I can't stitch any further than that. And then I'm going to go repeat the whole process on the other side. So my sides are upsized, and that definitely looks pretty darn awesome, if I do say so myself. So now let's get started on creating those groovy ruffled sleeves. So after I had removed the bodice from the skirt part of the dress, I did go ahead and stitch the lining and the exterior fabric together just really quickly around the top, just so they weren't slipping, sliding around everywhere. And now I'm folding the skirt part in half just to do a kind of super eyeball measurement here and make sure if I cut it in half, the sleeves are going to be wide enough to go into my armholes. And you know what? That's just about perfect, with a little bit extra for seam allowance, luckily. So now I'm going to cut the skirt part into 2 equal pieces. So after a few hours of struggling and fighting with this annoyingly slippery fabric and my poor old machine, I finally managed to get my sleeves done. So you know what, guys, if you ever are having a struggle struggle-rific time with your fabrics and your machine. It happens to all of us. I had to pick apart seams, redo seams. It was just crazy. But you know what? We're done now. So now I'm going to show you exactly what I did. I basically just cut that skirt right in half and created 2 tubes out of each half of the skirt. And because the bottom part of my sleeves was like too bell-ish, and I know I love bell sleeves, but this was just insane, I did go ahead and add some elastic, which will then be around my wrist like so, just to gather it in, because it was really belling out, and you know, it was going to get caught on every single doorknob. Okay, so finally we can attach the sleeves. Okay, so I have my blazer laying inside part down on my table here, and that is simply because I want to put my right sides together. So I have the right side of the sleeve up against the right side of my blazer, and I'm just gonna pop my sleeve inside my blazer armhole. And you can see here, I did leave a generous amount of my side seam insert here, and I'm just going to sort that all out once the sleeves are on, just in case, for whatever reason, I might need some extra fabric here. Okay, so I'm going to line everything up, and look, it absolutely lines up perfectly. So now I'm simply going to go stitch it together and then repeat it on the other side. Okay, everything is stitched on, and I'm super excited to go put it on my body, so let's go try it on and style it up.
And of course, we're going to finish off with my absolute favorite Refashionista blazer. This is so awesome. Unfortunately, it doesn't really look great with my Refashionista jumpsuit. It's much better over top of like an all black catsuit or with black trousers, because these sleeves are statementing as much as anything could statement, I think. And every time I wear this, I get so many compliments. I get asked all the time, oh, where did you buy it? And it's so great to say, I made it. And the tutorial's over on my channel for free, so you can make one too. Do let me know down below which one of these awesome blazers was your favorite. Which ones are you going to actually try to replicate in your own special way? Because remember, my tutorials are just there for your inspiration. You have to take them, open up your own brain, and make it exactly to your own taste and style. And if you want to go even deeper into my wonderful world of refashioning, I highly recommend joining my wardrobe revolution at refashionistasheri.com, because absolutely everything you need is in there. And I show you all of my tips and tricks and tutorials for sewing, for thrifting, for you name it. It is in there. Link will be down below for you. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, and I'll catch ya on the zigzag. Oh yeah, let me know down below what tutorials you want to see next, because I know for me, the weather's definitely getting colder, so I'll be doing some more cozy-ish type of tutorials. But if you're in a part of the world where maybe it is sunshiny now, let me know, and I can recommend some tutorials for you, or just go visit my tutorials for hot weather summer playlist. I think it's called something like that. Anyway, one more time, let's try this again. Stay safe, stay well, and I'll catch ya on the zigzag. Remember to hit join so you can get your name. What, here. For just 99 cents a month, you can help save a struggling refashionista. For just 99 cents a month, you can help sustain the much-needed work that goes on behind the scenes. Every thrift flip, every DIY, every upcycle, every free tutorial can only continue with your support. Join my Refashionista crew for only 99 cents a month, less than the cost of 2 bananas or a pack of gum, and help me continue teaching anyone who wants to learn how to use what they have to make what they want. Don't let affordable, sustainable DIY style become an endangered species. Join my Refashionista crew today.
This is Confessions of a Refashionista.